There's a gas station on Highway 49 in California that locals say you should never stop at after dark. Not because of the prices, not because of bad reviews, because in the past 18 months, 3 motorists who stopped there simply to refuel never made it back to their cars. This isn't an isolated incident. It's a pattern. Across 10 small towns in America, places with populations under 15,000, there's a warning that gets passed around among truckers, road trippers, and anyone who drives through. Don't stop. Not for gas, not for food, not even if you're running on empty. These aren't ghost towns. They're not abandoned. People live there. Businesses operate. But something has shifted. Economic collapse, drug epidemics, institutional failure, it all converged in these specific places to create environments that even local law enforcement quietly tells outsiders to avoid. And if you're planning a road trip in 2026, or you're relocating, or you're just someone who drives through rural America, you need to know which towns these are. Because the signs don't warn you, the GPS doesn't flag them, and by the time you realize you're in the wrong place, it might be too late. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you isn't fear-mongering, it's pattern recognition. To understand why these 10 towns became danger zones, you need to understand what happened to rural America over the past 2 decades. Between 2000 and 2020, over 1,400 small towns in the U.S. lost more than 25% of their population. Manufacturing left, anchor employers closed, young people moved to cities. The tax base collapsed. But population decline alone doesn't create dangerous towns. Plenty of shrinking communities remain safe, quiet, and functional. What creates danger is a specific combination of factors. First, economic devastation that happens faster than social infrastructure can adapt. When a town loses its primary employer overnight, a factory, a mine, a military base, unemployment doesn't just spike, it spikes 40, 50, sometimes 60% in under 2 years. Second, the opioid and methamphetamine epidemics. Between 2015 and 2023, certain rural counties saw overdose death rates increase by 300 to 500%. Not because urban drugs moved in, but because local despair created local demand. Third, law enforcement collapse. Small-town police departments that once had 15 officers now have 3. County sheriffs covering 2,000 square miles with 4 deputies, response times of 45 minutes to an hour. And fourth, the amplification effect of social decline. When crime rises and police presence falls, law-abiding residents leave. That concentrates the remaining population toward those with fewer options, which accelerates the cycle. These 10 towns aren't the only ones experiencing this, but they're the ones where the collapse reached a tipping point. The ones where even locals, people who've lived there their entire lives, started telling outsiders, "Don't stop here." Let's go through them, one by one. Number 10, Cairo, Illinois. Population in 1920, 15,000. Population now, 1,733. A 90% population collapse over a century. Cairo sits at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. It should have been a thriving river port. Instead, it became one of America's most abandoned cities. The warning here isn't about violent crime, it's about complete institutional collapse. There are blocks in Cairo where there is no running water, no working streetlights, no emergency services. If your car breaks down in certain parts of Cairo, you're not waiting for a tow truck. You're waiting to see if anyone even notices you're there. Truckers who drive Route 51 through southern Illinois know, bypass Cairo, take the bridge, don't exit. Number 9, East St. Louis, Illinois. This one technically exceeds our 15,000 population threshold, but it appears on every most dangerous small cities list for a reason. Violent crime rate, 2,599 per 100,000. That's nearly 7 times the national average. The warning here is specific. Do not stop at gas stations along State Street or Broadway after dark. multiple carjackings, armed robberies, assaults on motorists who stop to refuel. There are gas stations in East St. Louis with bulletproof glass that goes floor to ceiling, where you pay before you pump, where attendants won't come outside after sunset. This isn't speculation. This is documented reality. If you're driving I-55 or I-64 through the area, plan your fuel stops before you cross the river. Number 8, Bessemer, Alabama. Once a booming steel town just outside Birmingham. Now, violent crime rate of 1,747 per 100,000. Property crime rate 6,234 per 100,000. What makes Bessemer particularly dangerous for outsiders is opportunistic crime targeting travelers. The truck stops along I-20 and I-59 have become high-risk zones. Theft from vehicles, catalytic converter theft happens in minutes while you're inside paying. And armed robberies targeting drivers who stop overnight. The local sheriff's department is understaffed by 40%. Response times average 38 minutes. The warning from truckers: if you're hauling through Alabama, don't park in Bessemer. Push through to Birmingham or Tuscaloosa. Number 7, Monroe, Louisiana. Population 47,000. So technically not a small town, but it functions like one economically. Violent crime rate 1,604 per 100,000. Monroe's problem is geographic isolation combined with economic collapse. When the paper mills and chemical plants closed in the 2000s, unemployment spiked. Drug activity exploded. The warning here is about specific corridors: South Grand Street, Desired Street, and the areas around the old Civic Center. Multiple reports of motorists being followed from gas stations, carjackings in broad daylight, armed robberies at ATMs. If you're driving I-20 through Louisiana, refuel in Ruston or West Monroe. Do not stop in Monroe proper after dark. Number 6, Albany, Georgia. Population 68,000, but the dangerous zones are in the outlying areas where population density drops. Albany's violent crime rate is 1,204 per 100,000. What makes Albany specifically risky is its position as a crossroads city. I-75, US 19, US 82, multiple highways converge here, which means a lot of travelers passing through, and travelers are targets. The warning from Georgia State Patrol: avoid stopping at gas stations on the south side of Albany, particularly along US 82 West and Sylvester Road. Multiple incidents of motorists being robbed at gunpoint while refueling, vehicle thefts from gas station parking lots, even reports of drivers being followed after leaving stations. If you're driving through southwest Georgia, refuel in Tifton or Cordell. Do not stop in Albany unless absolutely necessary. Number 5, Desert Hot Springs, California. Population 28,000. This is the town I mentioned at the start, the one with the gas station on Highway 49. Desert Hot Springs sits just north of Palm Springs, but it might as well be on another planet. Violent crime rate 1,122 per 100,000. Property crime rate 4,891 per 100,000. The warning here is about isolation. Desert Hot Springs is surrounded by desert, empty, vast, with limited cell service in many areas. If something happens to you there, help is not close. The specific danger: gas stations and rest stops along Pearson Boulevard and Dillon Road. Theft from vehicles is rampant. Assaults on travelers. Catalytic converter theft happens in minutes while you're inside paying. California Highway Patrol's unofficial advice: refuel in Palm Desert or Yucca Valley. Do not stop in Desert Hot Springs after dark. Number 4, Bastrop, Louisiana. Population 10,000. Violent crime rate 1,535 per 100,000. Bastrop is a perfect case study in economic collapse creating danger. When the International Paper Mill closed in 2015, Bastrop lost 800 jobs in a town of 10,000. Unemployment spiked to 45%. Tax revenue collapsed.
police force shrank from 28 officers to 11. Now, Bastrop has one of the highest crime rates per capita in Louisiana. The warning is specific. Highway 165 runs straight through Bastrop. Do not exit for gas. Do not stop at the truck stops on the north or south ends of town. Armed robberies, carjackings, assaults on motorists. Local residents will tell you, if you absolutely must stop, do it during daylight and stay in your vehicle. Number 3, Emeryville, California. Population 12,000. This one surprises people because Emeryville is right next to Oakland and Berkeley. It's not rural, it's not isolated, but its violent crime rate is 1,290 per 100,000, and its property crime rate 8,131 per 100,000. The danger in Emeryville is vehicle
Violent crime rate 1,682 per 100,000. Pritchard sits just north of Mobile along I-65. It's a pass-through town, and that's the problem. Travelers on I-65, one of the busiest north-south corridors in America, exit for gas and food, and Pritchard has become a targeting ground. The warning is about specific exits, exit 13, exit 10, and the gas stations along US 45. Armed robberies at gas pumps, carjackings in fast food parking lots, theft from vehicles in under 2 minutes while drivers are inside. The Mobile County Sheriff's Office is spread thin. Response times average 35 to 40 minutes. The unofficial advice from truckers and law enforcement: stay on I-65, do not exit in Pritchard, refuel in Mobile or Saraland. Number 1. Saginaw, Michigan. Population 44,000. Violent crime rate 1,991 per 100,000, nearly 5 times the national average. Saginaw tops this list, not just because of crime statistics, but because of the consistency of warnings from people who live there and work there. Saginaw was once a thriving auto manufacturing hub. GM, Delphi, dozens of suppliers. When the auto industry collapsed in 2008 and 2009, Saginaw never recovered. Unemployment hit 25%, population dropped 18% in a decade, the tax base disintegrated. Now, Saginaw has one of the highest violent crime rates in the Midwest. And the danger isn't confined to certain neighborhoods, it's widespread. The warning from Michigan State Police, from truckers, from locals: do not stop in Saginaw. Not for gas, not for food, not to rest. If you're driving I-75 or US 23 through Michigan, refuel in Bay City, Flint, or Frankenmuth. Saginaw is a place where even police recommend you keep driving. So what do these 10 towns have in common? Let's look at the data. Average violent crime rate across these 10 towns is 1,577 per 100,000 residents. The national average is 380 per 100,000. That means these towns are on average 4 times more dangerous than the US as a whole. Average property crime rate is 5,340 per 100,000. National average is 1,832 per 100,000. Again, 3 times higher. But raw crime rates don't tell the full story. What makes these towns specifically dangerous for outsiders, for travelers, for people passing through, is 3 factors. 1. Targeting of non-locals. Criminals in economically collapsed towns know that travelers carry cash, credit cards, valuables. They know travelers don't know the area. They know response times are slow. Outsiders are seen as opportunities. 2. Institutional failure. In stable communities, crime is deterred by visible law enforcement, functioning courts, and social cohesion. In these towns, police forces are understaffed by 30 to 50%. Court systems are backlogged. Social cohesion has fractured.
crime happens because there's no effective deterrent. And 3, geographic isolation. Many of these towns sit on major highways, but they're surrounded by rural emptiness. If something happens to you, help is not close, cell service is spotty, and the nearest functioning police department might be 30 or 40 miles away. This combination, high crime, low enforcement, and geographic isolation, creates environments where even locals warn outsiders, "Don't stop here." So what happens next? If you're planning to drive through rural America in 2026, here's what you need to know. First, the list is getting longer. Economic decline doesn't reverse quickly. The towns on this list didn't become dangerous overnight, and they won't become safe overnight. And there are at least another 20 to 30 towns in similar trajectories. Small cities in the Rust Belt, the Deep South, and the rural West that are experiencing the same pattern: job loss, population decline, drug epidemics, law enforcement collapse. By 2027, this list could easily be 25 or 30 towns. Second, the danger is spreading geographically. Notice that these 10 towns aren't all in one region. They're spread across Illinois, Alabama, Louisiana, California, Michigan. This isn't a regional problem. It's a structural problem affecting vulnerable communities nationwide. And third, technology is making it easier to target travelers. Criminals watch highway traffic. They monitor gas stations near interstate exits. They use apps to track when travelers are most likely to stop. If you're driving a rental car, an out-of-state plate, or a vehicle that looks like you're on a road trip, you're flagged. And fourth, official warnings are rare. State tourism boards don't publish lists of dangerous towns. Google Maps doesn't flag high crime areas. Gas station apps don't warn you about safety. The warnings come from truckers, from locals, from people who've learned the hard way. So what do you do? If you're planning a road trip, if you're relocating across the country, if you're driving through unfamiliar areas, plan your fuel stops in advance. Use apps to identify well-lit, high-traffic gas stations in safer towns. Don't rely on, "I'll just stop when I need gas." That's how people end up in the wrong place. Avoid stopping in small towns after dark unless you've researched them. And if you absolutely must stop in one of these towns, stay in your vehicle, refuel quickly, and leave. Don't browse the convenience store. Don't use the restroom. Don't linger. Get back on the highway. Here's the reality. Most of America is safe. Most small towns are welcoming, functional, and perfectly fine to drive through. But these 10 towns are not. They're outliers, statistical anomalies, places where economic collapse, institutional failure, and social breakdown created danger zones. And the people who live there, the ones who stayed, the ones trying to survive, will tell you the same thing. If you don't have to be here, don't be here. This isn't about stigmatizing struggling communities. It's about pattern recognition. When crime rates are 4 times the national average, when police forces are understaffed by half, when locals themselves warn outsiders to keep driving, that's not fear-mongering, that's information. And in 2026, as more people hit the road, as remote work enables relocation, as Americans rediscover road trips, you need to know which towns to avoid. Cairo, Illinois, East St. Louis, Bessemer, Monroe, Albany, Desert Hot Springs, Bastrop, Emeryville, Pritchard, Saginaw. 10 towns where the warning is consistent. Don't even stop for gas. I'm not telling you to be afraid of rural America. I'm telling you to be informed. Plan your route, research your stops, know where you're going before you need to stop. Because the difference between a safe road trip and a dangerous one is often just one exit. Stay sharp.